are forward.
We are scoring.
And we are sportsing.
Welcome to the Four Score Sports Podcast. Season 2 is upon us. I am Christian, joined with Michael, Spencer, and in person for this very wet weekend, it is Brendan here in LA. And Nick is joining in from Texas. Welcome, guys. It's been a long month without recording.
It has.
It really has. And ever since last time we recorded 2 episodes.
Yeah, we did. And we had some pretty big bombshells drop that episode too. So, I mean, you got to get back into it.
Got to get back in the swing of it. So today we are tackling the NFL playoff recap. I'm going to take our picks for Super Bowl and some awards talk. For the NHL, we're going to be taking on some All-Star recaps and the firing of Todd McClellan, as well as the announcement that the NHL is coming back to the Olympics, as well as the 4 Nations face-off coming next year in place of the All-Star game. And for the MLB, we're going to be talking about some more free agency recap. After some time, we've had some signings here and there. And lastly, for the NBA, we're talking some media controversy and some awards talk there as well. Okay, well, guys, welcome back.
The Super Bowl is upon us.
The Super Bowl
is
is
a
upon
week
us.
away.
But you know what? How did we get there?
That's a great question. It was a crazy season, honestly. Like looking back at all the picks at the the beginning of the season, the Pro Bowl, and not even the Pro Bowl, preseason going into the
Pro Bowl was today.
the season. Yeah, I know. Pro Bowl was today. NFC won by a crazy score. But let's talk about the playoff setup, what it was set up going into it, how we got there, what teams won over the postseason, what teams lost. But I think more than just wins and loss records, we got to talk about the emotional wins some of these teams had. Because some of these teams didn't deserve being there. Some of these teams deserve being there more than others. Mm-hmm. And I think we should give them all, spotlights in whatever regards.
Well, the first team I have up on my screen right now are the Cleveland Browns.
Ooh.
A team that I don't know if anyone expected them to really do anything with Joe Flacco at quarterback, but
no, Joe Flacco coming off his couch and literally, throwing himself into the comeback player of the year conversation was quite entertaining. Performing at an absolute monstrous level with multiple touchdowns, albeit with multiple turnovers per game. But, getting Cleveland to where they needed to be, at least towards the beginning of the playoffs. It ended in a not so, glamorous fashion to the Texans, but I'll say I would consider the season a minor win for them with how many QBs they had to go through.
Oh, and no Nick Chubb either.
Oh, exactly.
Right.
Lost him super early.
And then I do consider it a win as well. It's just they weren't expected to be here at all.
No,
They had injuries, and they somehow pulled together a team and got into the playoffs.
Yeah, no. So overall, Cleveland, had room to improve. I don't know if Deshaun is a long-term, QB for them. Mm-hmm. We thought he was for Houston, and then now they've got Stroud. So it's it begs the question with the QB class of this year coming up in the next couple of years, is Deshaun gonna have a place in the NFL still? Mm-hmm. That's my biggest concern for Cleveland. Because Chubb's going to come back. He's going to take a buttload of snaps for them. They still have Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward, spearheading that defense. So it really comes down to that QB spot for them.
yeah. Then the next team I have up on my screen are the Miami Dolphins.
Oh,
Yikes.
That fraud watch claim was crazy earlier this season. Absolute insanity. So I think that fraud watch was well-deserved. Came into a freezing Kansas City, and albeit, certain calls didn't go their way, but the weather didn't go their way either, and I really think that's what kills a team.
yeah, transferring from sunny Miami to negative 30
Kansas
wind
City,
chill.
Missouri.
Oh. Negative 30 wind chill. Yeah,
freezing my beer, Kansas City.
Yeah.
Basically. I mean, with Miami, it's like they had this high-powered offense. They had all these weapons, but as you could see in the playoffs, it kind of seemed like they were a regular season team. And the question that I have is Tua their guy?
He really has hot flashes where he'll go on a good streak and then he'll just fizzle out, and I don't understand it because there were talks of him, he passing yards leader, I'm assuming he threw for 30 touchdowns or something around that this season. He got close. He obviously wasn't
pretty close.
I don't know the exact number, but
29.
Okay, so he was really close.
One touchdown short.
It just wasn't great QB play this year for any of them. But when you've got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle in that offense and a resurging Raheem Mostert, I don't understand how you just kind of fizzle out in the playoffs like that.
I mean, I watched the game. I fell asleep. It was awful. They had nothing going at all. And fun little thing of note is I saw that Tua, one of the most accurate QBs in the league, actually got the lowest score in the precision passing for the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, it was kind of amazing. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. The next team is one I'm really excited to talk about.
Oh.
The Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, buddy.
Fraud watch to
If y'all go back to like the early episodes when the season was starting, I was saying even though they were having like impressive wins and big wins,
Mike McCarthy.
They were frauds. They were going to get exposed.
We even had the Fraud Bowl. It was them in Miami.
Yep. And lo and behold, it happened once again.
Fittingly enough, to Green Bay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought it was a little cherry on top was Green Bay. Oh, it was so amusing to me. So, next on the list is the Dallas Cowboys. Absolute frauds as usual. Losing to Green Bay once again. So, I will let the NFC East man just rip into him. So, go at it, Nick.
Known Cowboys hater here. You win every single game at home this season. And you start to beat some teams that have winning records towards the end of the season. You're coming in hot. And, like, some people that were doubting throughout the season are now kind of starting to believe. And with this new, like Infinity Stone fucking collection Thanos snap power-up that you have called the fucking referees, you now can't win a game at home against a team that has seen, like, we've seen so many flaws in this Green Bay Packers team, and like they don't have the players that they've had before, and they are dealing with some injuries, and they're facing all the adversity, and they're coming into your stadium and putting on a fucking clinic. Like, if you take away the 16 trash time points that they scored at the end of the game, they got whomped. Like, they got catty-womped. It was a womp session of all proportions, bro. Like, I don't know how you go into, like, Dallas and just bend them over backwards and smack them across the ass. Because, like, that's what they did. And honestly, I think Dallas really needs to take this as, like, a what is going on here, because this is time and time again that they can't do shit in the playoffs. And their season, say what you want about some of those losses against Philadelphia, against Arizona, you just can't justify losing in the playoffs as consistently as they have since the 90s. Like, it's abysmal, and something needs to change. So that's all I really have to say. Like, they need something to change. They lost a few coordinators due to going to other teams already. So they're going to have to figure it out. Letting Mike McCarthy come back is just a very questionable decision, especially after this playoff game that I'm looking at. I don't see really anything that went their way, because the defense couldn't get it done. The offense couldn't really get it done until garbage time. And it wasn't, I felt like that was just a big waste of time for everyone involved. And I don't feel bad for the Cowboys because they deserve this, but that's just what I have to say about it. They fell short yet again, and it honestly needs to be studied as one of the most consistent things in the NFL is the Dallas Cowboys will get bounced in the first or second round. They will never make it to a championship game until something changes, like, big time. And I stand by that.
No, I completely agree, because this basically boils down to Jerry Jones' fault, in my mind. Because how many players have they gone through that have been, like, game-changing for them that he's refused to pay? Because you saw Amari Cooper have a resurgent year with them, and then he's like, I don't want to pay him, and he goes to Cleveland. Now, you got lucked out with the fact that you got CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup, but your continuous refusal to pay these players and act like it's still the 50s. Like, come on, Jerry. It's you gotta move on. You gotta learn to pay these players. But I digress. It was fun watching Dallas lose for the 30th year in a row.
Up next, we have, unfortunately, my Los Angeles Rams. But honestly, this season... The fuck was that?
I was trying.
Oh.
Right.
I'm considering this season a win for us. Considering where we were coming out of last season, having a disappointing year after winning the Super Bowl, everyone, myself included, expecting this upcoming season to be a rebuilding year.
Yep.
We had a lot of unproven talent on our team, and we end up finishing with a 10-7 record and making the playoffs, having
Potential offensive rookie of the year.
Potential offensive rookie of the year, Puka Nacua. Second-year fifth-rounder Kyron Williams breaking out. Possible defensive rookie of the year, Kobe Turner.
Yeah,
I'm seeing a lot of
there's
young
definitely a lot of
talent.
positives. There's a lot of
young talent coming out of this team.
It just begs the question. Obviously, you got a solid running back. You just got to hope that Kyron stays healthy going forward. That's the biggest issue with running backs. Obviously, the defensive front, you're trying to mentor a new player for inevitably when Aaron Donald does retire, because it's going to happen soon rather than later. He's 12 years in the league,
something like that. Yeah,
10 years in the league. I think it was 2014. D tackles aren't the longest lasting position, so that's going to happen soon. His productivity the last couple of years has kind of dwindled a bit.
Yeah, like he's kind of been taking on, like, since the Super Bowl year, he's been taking on more of a mentor role, which we're seeing with guys like Mike Hoyt and Kobe Turner, who both had really good years this year. Yeah.
You have something to say, Nick?
Yeah, I'll just say with the way that the Rams are able to build their prospects into more than where they should be from the draft, because a lot of their picks, I remember we had this conversation, a lot of their picks came from later than the second round. Like, a lot of their good players are all like 4th, 5th, 6th round picks, which incredible like talent scouting. I will hand it to them. As much as I like to hate on the Rams for never having draft picks, they seem to make do with what they get. And so, like you said, you can't take a look. You can't see the season as an L. You made it to the playoffs. You probably shouldn't have. Looking at the beginning of the season, Stafford picked it up. Aaron Donald, yes, he might retire soon. I do kind of disagree with defensive tackles. They can last a long time. It just depends on if they get injured, because you can see that with a lot of other teams, especially a big case in point for a defensive lineman. Brandon Graham, he's been in the league so long, and he just doesn't stop. Like, I think he's 36 right now. Like, he's a workhorse, and he is still playing at a high level. I think he was top 2 or top 3 on the team with TFLs and sacks. So it's like, I think it just depends if he gets hurt. If he gets hurt, then I can see him having to, maybe retire a little bit earlier. Also, you have to kind of take a look at when Matthew Stafford might take a regression. He's 35. You got it. I like a Matthew Stafford. I like the way he played the end of this season. He, strung the team together to get them to the playoffs, but you also got to think he's 35. Like, not many players will play into their 40s like Tom Brady did. So you kind of have to think maybe he might start slowing down, and maybe you might have to start thinking about a quarterback in the future. And I know they had a couple, like a guy in the preseason that looked pretty good. Michael, you might know.
Stetson Bennett.
Stetson Bennett, yes, drafted this past year, I think.
He's almost as old as Stafford.
Georgia. I don't remember for sure.
Yeah, he won the Natty with Georgia.
Yes, exactly. So I think you might want to really start to focus on him to see if he can actually lead this team, the transition. Sort of like a Jordan Love, like you give him a little time to bake, and then once your guy, ultimately moves on, enter new guy. But
he's
dub of
older
a
than
season
Lamar, right?
nonetheless.
Really?
He's older than Lamar? I haven't heard that one. That's kind of crazy.
He's like 27.
Next up we got the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Not much to say about
I don't really have
Pittsburgh.
anything to say about them.
They didn't deserve to be there, first and foremost. Even if the fact that they were there, this was just to hold on to Tomlin's legacy of not having a losing season. Watching them play Buffalo was absolutely abysmal. There's nothing going good for that team outside of George Pickens.
Yeah.
And maybe TJ Watt when he's healthy. So
You
not
got
much to say
Freiermuth?
about.
But Canada's gone.
Freiermuth isn't a franchise, breaking tight end like we've been seeing in the playoffs this year. I mean, I'm not saying he's bad. Stop talking. No, I'm not saying Freiermuth is bad. I do like. I think I had him for a good chunk of fantasy, at least 1 year. But solid tight end. I don't think he's a Travis Kelce, George Kittle, a Laporta. Like he's not like a game changing tight end in my mind. He's a solid rock. But when you've got Mason Rudolph or what's his face? Tiny Hands.
Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett, thank you. Yeah, when you've got like Kenny Pickett or Mason Rudolph as your QB, like it's just not good looks for your stats outside of George Pickens, of course.
Yeah. Sorry, I just kind of want to move on to this next one because I'm kind of excited.
Oh, I'm excited for this one too.
We got the Philadelphia Eagles.
Good old
Knew it was
Philly.
coming. Knew it was coming. Can I take the lead on this one really quick?
I was gonna say I'm just gonna let you do it.
Okay. All right. I need to channel everything here, bro, because
Here we go.
Keep it quick.
I will keep this quick because I don't have much to say. I've been coping with this for the past few weeks. The only problem that I have is that the league likes to troll us saying, ha ha ha, but we knew this was coming.
What?
I had a
Bro,
rant.
you knew this was coming.
This is the Matt Patricia experience. I don't know what you're talking about.
32 to 9.
Guys. Let me
32
finish.
to 9.
Let me
Y'all
finish.
let Baker bake.
Are you okay? If you're just not gonna let me finish, then all of your opinions are immediately thrown out the window.
Let him
Because
finish. Let him finish.
I had a rant on this podcast stating everything that the team was doing wrong, and they did jack shit to fix it. Okay? They did nothing to fix it. They ran the same plays. They ran the same offense, ran the same defense. Everything they did just kept the same and said, maybe we'll figure it out. And you had people like Chad Ochocinco, Philadelphia resident, thinking, yeah, sure. Like I think that this is not the Eagles team. They're just trying to put on an act. And that's what everyone was hoping for. But the league fucking knew that this team was not going to win a playoff game, especially coming into the playoffs, just seeing we couldn't even beat the Cardinals, couldn't beat the Giants. Like we played half a game against the Giants and said, all right, we're already in the playoffs. Everyone get benched. They tried to win that game. They went into that game thinking that they could win it. And then they just got exposed and said, all right, we're just going to swallow our pride and put in our backups. So I don't want to hear the, haha, no, you're the only person that said you thought this coming. I told you that this was coming. The entire league told you that this was going to come. And you can't just sit here and tell me, and you can laugh all you want. You can laugh all you want because the entire league knew that this Eagles team wasn't going to do shit in the playoffs. And especially since we started losing. That's when the Seahawks game was what really set it off for us and set it off for the league. And if you can laugh, like I say, you can laugh all you want, ha ha ha. But we knew that this was coming, and it did not hurt me whatsoever when I turned off the game in the second quarter when we were down 16-9. I didn't like what I was seeing. I didn't like what I was seeing pretty much since Dallas game 1, honestly. Ever since the bye week, I wasn't liking what I was seeing, and everyone had been told this by multiple sources around the league that this team had no potential in the playoffs. The team died, and say what you want, but we knew that this was coming. The defense didn't want to play, didn't want to stop shit, and that's what it is. So I mean, it's fucking annoying. It really is.
Yeah, that was
They
something
were 10-1,
there.
but you know.
Well, I mean,
What
yeah,
did you
but
say?
it's he said they were 10-1, but it's you can almost liken
That
it
proves my point.
you can almost liken it to Pittsburgh like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
That 11-0.
No, you can't. That 2020 season was a joke. That season was a joke for everyone. The 49ers played in Arizona for 2 weeks. That was their home for 2
Yes,
weeks.
we did because
We also had an NFL football
certain
game on a
governor.
Wednesday night.
You cannot tell me that wasn't great. We love
Hey,
football.
we
That
did
was
have
great.
the legend of Trace McSorley that season.
Whoa, Trace McSorley was that
Hey,
season.
That was-
first game played on a
the
Wednesday.
Niners had $88
That's a stat.
million worth of players on IR that season.
Having Tuesday Night Football was kind of cool, too.
I did like Tuesday night. Okay, besides the point, Eagles disaster class. We partially knew that was coming. Some
We
of us
knew
more
that
than
was
others
coming.
did.
Stop lying to yourself. If you're trying to get me triggered, it's working because you knew this too, bro.
Listen, let me have my fun. Just let me have my fun a little bit. God damn it. Okay, moving on.
No.
Okay.
Divisional
Divisional
round.
We got the Houston Texans.
Honestly, kind of expected it.
Yeah,
As much as I love
against
Stroud-
a team like Baltimore, yeah.
It was a good season though.
That's a W for them. I think D'Amico Ryans deserves, as a former Niners coach, deserves head coach of the year, turning that franchise around with a rookie quarterback. Amazing job. You just got to clean a couple things up. Get him a receiver that's notable. I don't know who Nico Hollins is or Tank Bell. I'm not saying they did bad. Just get him a solid
Tank Dell
number
is
one.
amazing.
I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying, a tight end or number one would really do him some justice. Anyways, not much really to say other than that was a W for a season for Houston in my mind.
Yeah.
Next
up, we got the Green Bay Packers.
Well,
I mean,
okay.
Bro, the 49ers got put on fraud watch that game.
Low key.
Who took the one though? Who took the win? I don't want to hear it. We're in the
That's
Super
why I
Bowl.
said
Besides
fraud
the point.
watch.
And crawled off of it immediately after.
We'll get to the Niners later. Well, I just want to say it's impressive that we might actually that Green Bay might actually have 3 straight good quarterbacks.
I wouldn't call him Hall of
I'm
Fame
saying
yet.
Love
good.
is a fraud.
I'm saying good right now because the way he played these playoffs
I'm not
was
disagreeing.
impressive.
He had a good game against Dallas.
And he had a
I would say he had a solid, at least solid first half against San Francisco.
And-
I'll give him that.
as far as the season overall, he had a pretty solid season.
He had a
Obviously,
solid
he's not
3 quarters.
he's not on the level of Favre or Rodgers yet, but he's at least looking decent.
I think Green Bay had the right idea of sticking with the old strategy of having a guy sit behind. Because you look at it time and time again. Even if you want to look away from Green Bay, you look at New England when Brady sat behind Bledsoe. You want to look at Young sitting behind Montana. Mahomes sitting behind Alex Smith. You give these guys a little bit of time to just sit and figure it out. They'll figure it out. So I think it was worth letting Love just get his bearings under Rodgers, and then once Rodgers is gone, they were like, here's the reins. Granted, he took a little too much off of Favre's playbook. That crossbody throw late in the game, dude, come on.
Yeah.
That's never 1 foot across the body is never the way to go. There's literally it's probably been almost 20 years, 15 years at minimum of us making fun of Favre for doing that. You can't be putting yourself in that scenario. But overall, again, I'd say this is a W of a season for a Green Bay team that I did not expect to be in playoffs. So that's all I really have to say about them.
I just have one quick tidbit. Funny
for it.
little niche thing that I'd like to point out about the Green Bay Packers. In the playoffs, they scored a total of 69 points.
Okay, that's kind of funny.
Nice.
That was a good one.
Nice.
More than every other team.
Next up, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think it's really impressive how Baker took over that team from Brady and is still making them relevant.
Yeah, I would say
I
so.
don't think any of us really expected. I think we all kind of expected Tampa to go back to being the mediocre team that they were before Brady got there.
It was also the fact that he kept Mike Evans' season consistent. Mike Evans still had that 1,000-yard receiving season. They won their division, albeit that division is a dumpster fire, quite literally.
Absolutely.
But the fact it came down to the last game of the season to decide who was going into playoffs, and them still making a statement. I wouldn't say it's that big of a statement because we did just clown the Eagles for it.
Yeah.
But making a statement, at least winning a game, and then going into Detroit, and putting up a fight up until the last drive.
I was gonna say that game was really close.
It was closer than it should have been. On paper, that game should not have been that close. But Baker, outside of the last drive interception, I think had a really solid game and should not be upset about how he performed. I think Tampa gives him a new contract.
Yeah, I agree. Let Baker bake, baby.
Especially if they don't have any other like guys to really look at because like there's not many free agent quarterbacks coming up. Like a lot of these big guys are under contract, so it's like you got kind of have to stick with him unless you draft somebody, and they went to the playoffs, so they don't have a really good draft pick. So, it kind of really comes down. But they had a pretty solid season. They picked up some really quality wins that season. So I liked them going into the season a little, or like the first few weeks of the season. The only thing I will say is the Eagles beat them early in the season, anyways. But I just think that looking at their season, it wasn't that bad. They had some pretty bad losses, but they also had some pretty good wins too. So can't complain about that season. I think it's kind of like the Rams, like a team that you didn't expect really to do too much, didn't expect to make it to the playoffs. A lot of question marks around the team, especially with a lot of new guys coming around. But their offense looked really good. I think, yeah, you can't really complain, honestly. Even with the defense taking a step back, the offense picked it up, and I think they did really good.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think Tampa Bay has a future to look forward to.
Next up, got the Buffalo Bills. Now, going into the season, I think I said this on the podcast. I said if the Super Bowl this year isn't Buffalo and San Francisco, both teams have serious issues they need to work out.
Yep.
But I think I know it ultimately came down to Tyler Bass missing that kick at the end, but I think the fact that Buffalo has the roster that they have and can't make it back to the AFC Championship is symptomatic of a much larger issue.
If you look at it as well, Stephon Diggs' production took a hit halfway through the season.
Yeah,
that needs to be studied.
Studied. No, agreed. Because I can't figure out how are you a number one target for so long, and then all of a sudden you have like 400 yards and 2 TDs across like 8 games. Like that's abysmal.
Yeah.
So it begs the question: what is Stephon going to do going forward? What is Josh going to do going forward with these absolute no-name receivers? Because nobody can point to me and tell me Gabe Davis is the number one receiver. If Stephon leaves, who does he have?
I was about to say this might have been Stephon. I wouldn't be surprised if this was Stephon's last year in Buffalo.
They might trade him. I genuinely think they might trade him.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And I think the defense was solid enough for the most part. I think there might just be a few little tweaks here. I don't know if Trey White is still on that team. I think he is.
I'm pretty sure he is.
But yeah, they need to really figure it out. And I think it might come down to coaching. Because I know they fired somebody, and I don't know if they still have McDermott, but I think McDermott,
they still got McDermott.
I think this is like a fire under his ass. Like,
absolutely.
This is a hot seat if I've ever seen a goddamn hot seat. So
you can't have a roster that good and not at least make it back to the AFC Championship.
No, agreed. Who is next? Are we in championship weekend at this point?
We're in the championship week.
Oh boy.
Okay.
We got the first team talking about is the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, let's talk about Baltimore.
Yikes.
That was a monumental choke job. Absolute monumental choke job. You have somebody that people have been touting, although not my MVP. But that's an argument for later.
We'll get there in a bit.
A man who they've been claiming is MVP late into the season even, but they'll use his stats as this is an MVP, and he'd been playing well. You know, you look at him against. He had a decent game against San Francisco at the end of the year. He kept playing well throughout the playoffs. You know, you come in, you soundly turn on the Jets and defeat. Houston. Yeah, was not coming to me, man. You come in and you thump Houston like that, and then you go into the AFC Championship, I believe as the favorite in your home stadium, and you, what was it, 10 points? You have
7.
to catch your own passes at this point. Your wide receivers completely sell. Your defense does nothing good for you. Like that's.
I don't know about the defense part. The defense was on. They were on point for like the whole game.
Yeah, the defense just wasn't that good at the beginning of the game. They really picked it up at the end.
I just don't understand how that Baltimore offense couldn't get the ball rolling.
Well,
outside of Zay Flowers,
I was about to say Zay Flowers, the
throwing that. But I don't even have confidence.
I don't think
in them after
you
that.
shouldn't have called that. I don't think the ref should have called that. I get it because it technically is a part of the breaking the rules, but like also you kind of have to look at Travis Kelce, what he was doing the entire game.
He was doing the exact same thing.
Bro was doing the exact same thing, but getting physical with the players. Like he didn't even make the play, and he was getting in guys' faces. And so I don't know how you not call any of that, but call Flowers for making a 50-something yard crazy catch.
Bro flexed. Bro literally flexed. But not
flexing
even talking about that.
I was talking about the fumble.
Even the fumble afterwards. Like, sure, you're trying to make the play there, and I can't really fault him for trying to make the play. But say you do score there, what happens next? You've been struggling all game. What if you can't get back into the end zone and Kansas City wins on a field goal? Womp womp, you're in the same position you were earlier. It's just, it's not good looks regardless for that Baltimore team, and it's honestly abysmal. And it really points all the fingers to Lamar in my mind, because you've got solid receivers. You've got OBJ, you've got Zay Flowers, you've got Mark Andrews and Likely at tight end, who are both good tight ends. Like, there's the fact that one stepped out and the other came in, and they still produced, like, it. And you've got that top 3 defense on the season. It really points the finger of, why can't you get it done? You've got the components. Why can't you get it done?
A big part of that was he wasn't running as much in the game.
Yeah, number 1 rushing team in the league, barely ran the ball. They got into a shootout with a shootout team in the Chiefs.
Yeah. Nick, you wanted to say?
Yeah, I don't know necessarily how you put a lot of this on Lamar. Sure, the run game could have been more. Obviously, number 1 rush offense in the league. Lamar did what he had to do on the ground. Okay, he picked up 54 yards on 8 rushes. He did what he had to do, and he threw a pretty solid game. Yeah, that pick was not great, and like, sure, I don't know what he was thinking throwing into triple coverage into the end zone from like 40 yards out. I don't know what he was thinking. Also was a penalty on that play. Not going to say anything about that, but it's just, I don't know. I don't know how you put that entirely on Lamar, because the rest of the team also didn't do anything. And this is the play calling. And I do think the play calling can be kind of questionable at times for them. So, the Philadelphia Eagles effect, really, honestly. What happened right there.
Real.
It's true. I mean, they couldn't call the right plays, and everyone knew what the right plays were. Even the stupid announcers could figure it out.
And next up, we got the Detroit Lions.
Oh, my team.
I'll let you speak on this one.
Yeah, let me do this. I mean, heartbreaking loss, like, end to the season. Monumental choke job. Same old Lions looking esque, but
Dan Gamble.
in my opinion, it was a good season. It was a successful first playoff win in my lifetime, in my parents' lifetime, in most people that live in Detroit's lifetime. Since TV was in black and white, lifetime. No, not really. But it was a successful season, and I think the team is only going to get better at this point. Both the coordinators are staying, and rookies are only going to get better. There's something like $50+ million in cap space. And then the thing about Detroit is a lot of their big contracts were front loaded. So they're only going to get cheaper, they're only going to get more money and to get better. And it's just without any big regression, I think that the Lions will be good for a lot of years to come, and Jared Goff proved that he is that guy this year.
Yeah, honestly, I will say Detroit had a really great season. I was not expecting this from them, even having that 9-8 season last year. I think they should have beat Dallas first and foremost. I think everybody here can agree to that. That should have been a win for them instead of Dallas.
Oh yeah,
he reported. Don't worry.
But I mean, it came back to bite Dallas anyways. But it begs the question for me. You've got solid players on defense. You need to focus on corner. Hopefully, Emmanuel Mosley,
the defense is awful. I don't know
as an avid Emmanuel Mosley, supporter. Who's great on the Niners. The truther, even. I think he comes back. You need to send Cam Sutton to China.
Cam Sutton should have stayed on the plane ride to California. Or from California.
And you wonder where Brian Branch is going to progress.
Brian Branch,
I think is he more of a safety or is he a corner?
He's a safety.
He plays slot corner safety.
Okay, so you got to see him develop, because obviously he was a rookie, fighting for his life out there some games.
But he's not going to play the boundary. That's the thing. Cam Sutton is our boundary corner, and he got exposed multiple times by Mike Evans, by Brandon Ayuk. He played good at the beginning of the season, but he had a huge fall off in the middle of the season. And other than corner, the big need is an edge rusher opposite of Hutchinson. Because Houston came back and he was invisible all game long, and you got to get pressure on the quarterback, and you got to get pressure on the quarterback, and it's just
But
you only have Hutchinson really.
But Hutchinson.
What about Fabio, man? What about Fabio?
No, I just said Fabio. But
Bro, Anzalone,
no,
bro. Good.
I
Bro,
would
the
say
good.
I would say this was the W of the season, and a heartbreaking way to end it.
Very heartbreaking.
I just my big question is, do you think Jared Goff gets you to the promised land?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he does.
Yeah.
He totally can.
And like the way that this team is built
got
is
the
that,
Rams there.
you don't need a superstar quarterback to go out and win you games. You have this rushing attack, you have this offensive line, you have weapons that can create space and make those throws easier for Jared Goff. They can get those yards after the catch. He doesn't have to make the plays himself. He just has to get the ball into the hands of those who can.
Yeah.
Fair
That
enough.
was wise. That
That was
wise
a
words.
well
Game
strung
manager.
together.
And that
Hey,
is,
he's
as
not
a-
afraid to admit it.
He's a damn good game manager.
As Cam Newton would say.
speaking of game managers, that
there
gets
aren't
us.
any. There aren't any in the Super Bowl.
No,
this year,
that,
so
that gets
that's-
us to.
is.
Nope.
That gets us to the end of the road.
Nope.
Super Bowl
Isaiah
58
Pacheco masterclass.
between the Kansas
L.
City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers.
Rematch of 54,
Well,
but
a rematch of Super
very
Bowl
different
54.
teams going in from 54.
Slightly different teams.
No, I'd say very different.
Kinda
there,
different.
there are 6
Mediocre
players
teams.
on this
You
team.
still have Jimmy Garoppolo, but white.
But are we talking
Garoppolo
about like
not white himself?
what? Are we not
He-
talking about?
he's
tan.
Garoppolo's Italian.
He's tan.
What about
That's-
the underdogs? The real true underdogs all season, the 49ers. Big
Oh yeah,
underdog.
favored in every single game
Big
against
underdog
all
guys
odds
over here.
49ers.
Y'all are tripping about a tweet posted by an intern.
Against all odds is a crazy caption.
It's
for a
an
team that's
intern,
favored
bro.
Against
He's probably
all odds.
he's probably
Y'all
paid
y'all
15
did not
an
have to
hour.
beat the. There is no odds to be beat there, my guy. It's literally y'all had the odds. So against what odds?
No, bro. Y'all want to play that game as if y'all weren't talking shit all season long. I have so many receipts.
I doubt the
pages-
Niners intern is
pages.
aware of us, Spencer.
And not even just you guys. It's a league-wide thing. But that's besides the point. Nope. You can make faces every time something went slightly wrong. Y'all wanted to talk shit all
Yes,
over
we
the
did.
league.
Because it's funny.
All over the league.
Because
So I don't wanna
red
hear
Cowboys go burr.
Who's in the bowl and you're not. So I don't want to
well,
hear it. Besides the
who's won the
point,
bowl?
this is... Oh, you didn't
Won
last
the
year,
bowl in the
so...
last 27 years.
So you wanna mimic the Lambs fans over here. Okay, cool. Besides the point.
I mean, we got 2.
You weren't even alive for one. So you
Okay.
can't talk. Doesn't matter. You can't even speak on
That doesn't change the fact that they've won in the last 27 years.
No, it doesn't matter because
twice.
he wants to bring up the fact that I wasn't alive for those rings. He has no right to talk about the one he wasn't alive for.
He didn't say
And next week,
that's not what I
and
said.
next week, it doesn't matter. After next week, I don't want to hear it anymore. So, besides
Alright.
the point, this is going to be a great
You heard it
matchup.
here.
I think that the Chiefs' defense is going to be a problem, but I don't know where the problem's going to lie. Because I'm not 100% solid on our pass protection. Our O-line outside of Trent Williams is kind of iffy. Obviously, Trent's going to hold down the fort on his end of the field. Blindside tackle always should. But outside of our center and our left tackle, I don't know how we can stop Chris Jones. He hasn't been super vocal from what I remember in playoffs, but I want to be wary of him. Them losing Charles Omenihu kind of gave us a bolster on the edge. What's his name? Legarius?
Legarius Sneed.
Legary Sneed.
I think him
He's going to be a problem.
versus Ayuk is going to be a generational matchup. I think that's going to be a great thing to watch all game long. Their slot corner versus Debo is also going to be a really good one. He's been, I want to say, top 3 in forcing turnovers
Are you talking about
for
Trent
slot
McDuffie?
corners. Yes, McDuffie. Thank you.
Washington, UW. I love that.
But Debo's been really good out of the slot, so that's going to be a really good matchup. I want to see Bosa and crew really put in the work against the Chiefs O-line because Bosa was realistically the only D-line member to show up against the Lions, and having mobile QBs have always been a struggle for us. Watching Lamar, we couldn't sack Lamar if our life depended on it. Jordan was trying to wiggle his way out of the pocket. We were trying to get pressure on him, so it's just we need to lock down that, and I think having Fred and Dre in the middle of the field will be really solid, but I'm just worried. Obviously, they don't have Tyreek Hill anymore, and I'm praising God that they don't have Tyreek Hill anymore because he was our biggest issue in 54. So I think that Charvarius Ward versus Rashee Rice is going to be a good one. He's a former Chief. I'm a little worried about Diamador Lenore versus, I think, MVS. So our safeties are fine. I'm not worried about Jair Brown or Tashawn Gibson. It's just our D-line needs to get pressure, and our O-line just needs to be rock solid. We cannot allow anything to go super crazy. Because when you watch I'll let you speak in a second, Nick. My bad. But it just watching. The team has been very different first half come second half. Our second half team is very different from our first half play. It's super evident, but we cannot have a game like that in the Super Bowl. That's just where it needs to lie.
Yeah, especially against the Chiefs, who are winners and who know how to turn on the Jets in the playoffs, especially in the Super Bowl. That team is unreal in the Super Bowl, regardless of the garbage receivers that they have, and it's been made evident that they can beat anyone in the playoffs. So, also, I think the 49ers, what they're really going to have to really, really, really put a lot of resources and time into is stopping Travis Kelce. And there's no linebackers that can match up against him. The safeties probably can't tackle him for shit because he's so physical and he can move like no other tight end can. So
I think Fred Warner
just died, I guess.
I think Fred and Dre don't exist at that point.
Well, we all know how I feel about Dre Greenlaw, but I just think that he proved last game against the Ravens that it doesn't matter what your name is on the back of your jersey, he can torch your team up. And he's been proving it all season. He's been proving it for multiple seasons that he can kind of back up the shit he talks. And it really depends on if they can show up, because as much as I, want to say, Fred Warner can stop Travis Kelce, I don't know how sold I am solely on that. I mean, Sam Laporta last game did have 9 catches for 97 yards. So, and he was their leading receiver. So, Travis Kelce is better than Laporta in many ways. So, especially playoffs and Super Bowl, Travis Kelce is a different animal. That's the biggest concern I have. I think the corners, they'll get it done because it's really Rashee Rice. And if you blanket a safety over on Rashee Rice, he's probably useless anyways. And then you just also got to worry about Pacheco, because Pacheco was running fucking laps around Baltimore. And it wasn't particularly fair. So, and the 49ers have a decent run defense. It's not what it was last year. Not where it was last year. So
no.
Letting David Montgomery rush for 93 yards and giving up 3 rushing touchdowns last week against the Lions.
I mean, to be fair, one of those was a jet sweep, and jet sweeps are...
Yeah, they count as rushing plays, but they're really glorified receiving plays.
Yeah, so I mean, and J-Mo is a notoriously fast human being, so I cannot completely blame the defense, but yeah, we were getting run over the last 2 weeks. You want to see Aaron Jones had a monstrous 53-yard run against us during that Green Bay game, and then we were just getting mollywopped the first half of that Detroit game, and then finally turned it on in the second half. But I really don't want to have to say we need to turn it on in the second half against Pacheco and Mahomes. It's really not something I'm excited for. I worry for that front 4. Not even front 7. I think the front 7 will be fine. I'm most worried about the front 4.
I think we should now get into our picks for the Super Bowl. As a Rams-Raiders fan, this is not a Super Bowl I'm particularly looking forward to. Neither was 54 for that matter. But seeing as one of the teams unfortunately does have to win, as much as it pains me to say it, I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think, at least me personally, I would rather see Mahomes get his 3rd ring. And through the New Heights podcast, I have become a fan of Travis Kelce. But just overall, I think the Chiefs, even though this is the weakest Chiefs team we've seen in the Mahomes era, this is still a very dangerous team, and I think it's going to take a lot for the Niners to beat them. I'm not saying that it's impossible, of course, because this game is really up in the air, but I personally am picking Kansas City to win the game.
I'm going to go with the 49ers solely because I don't want to see my Instagram feed filled with posts of you-know-who and you-know-who.
He's got a point.
And
Even
I
if
will
I'm
never
also
see the
Niners
end
fan.
of it.
I've considered. Believe me, I've taken that into consideration. But it's a sacrifice I would be willing to make.
Also, I hate Britney Mahomes. I hate Patrick's brother.
Jackson.
I hate his criminal father. What else?
Bro
do I
got
hate
arrested
about-
today.
What else do I hate about Patrick Mahomes?
For the third time.
You know who and you know who. I'm not even gonna mention their names in this podcast, but there's not much to like. I like Pacheco though. He's cool, but
He
Yeah,
runs
Pacheco's
like he
cool.
bites people.
Oh my god. What does that even mean?
If you watch, I'll show you film of Pacheco
He
after
does.
this. He runs like a toddler who bites people. It's all like high knees through
He-
everything.
I saw this thing saying he runs like he goes upstairs on all fours.
Yes, he does. Yes, that's exactly like. I'll show you Pacheco film after. It's absolutely horrendous how hard this man runs.
Bro's a dog, though. He can
No.
run.
No, Pacheco was a lifesaver in fantasy this year. I'll say that. All right, Christian.
All right, man. Well,
Oh no.
last time of the season, but I got a feeling.
Oh God, this is not gonna go well.
So, I'm still firm on what I said weeks and weeks ago, that the league is still standing on this to make sure it milks the most amount of money it can from you-know-who's fans. The narrative must stay intact, and, like, really, again, like, it's evil on evil with these teams. I think the Chiefs are gonna win still. I mean, like, you could really, like, this is like the worst coin toss you could toss, but like, I still think that, yeah, like I said, I still think that the NFL still stands that this must generate as much money as possible from her fans. I think the Chiefs will unfortunately get it done. So, well, that's my pick, Chiefs.
Nick, I'll let you add your 2 cents.
All right. I got a little bit to say.
Okay, go ahead.
In the battle of the CO2 Bowl, I think there's a lot going on here.
CO2 bowl.
There's a lot of narratives.
What?
The carbon dioxide, the carbon emissions bowl, presented by Boeing. I think we have two. Okay, the only worst team that could be playing would be the fucking Cowboys, but we have their little brother, Red Cowboys, and then we have the Chiefs. So all I can say is really that I'm gonna have to take the worst out of two evils. I heard what you said, Michael, about the New Heights podcast, and that redeems him maybe 1%, but that motherfucker has been so annoying this season. Like, and it's not that he's been good. Bro did not need to, him and Mahomes did not need to throw Justin Tucker's shit. Like, they do all this stupid stuff that, like, oh yeah, they're like these tough guys, they're not putting up with anyone's shit. But like, they're just annoying, and it's not fun for the game, and it kind of ruins the game, and it might honestly turn into, I think the factor in this game will be the referees and see what they end up doing.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't know.
Unfortunately.
I don't know who the crew is, and what money they have put on what teams, but it seems as if they always err on the side of the Chiefs. But I have to pick a team that is the worst or the best out of two evils, and this is going to hurt me probably the most to say because I have been trolling all season, but the 49ers are my pick. I think that they just have a more complete team, and I think I might be falling for this again because I had the Bills winning their game and the Ravens winning their game. But the more complete team should win and will always have my pick. So I'm going to go with the 49ers. They have the more complete team. they have more experience in the playoffs and deep playoff runs than the other teams that have played against the Chiefs. So I'm going to lock in the 49ers right now.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't want to take away from before you make your pick.
You're good.
The officiating crew, because you did bring that up.
Yeah.
Led by, and bear with me. I'm not so
Vinovich?
sure who this is. Bill Vinovich. Says here.
Vinovich is my Angel Hernandez. To reference.
Are you serious?
I fucking wish I was kidding.
Vinovich, per USA Today, I'm quoting USA Today right here. Vinovich was also the referee in the controversial 2018 NFC Championship game, the no call on a blatant defensive pass interference by the Rams, and on the Saints.
Dog, I'm telling you,
slightly remember
if
that.
you know anything about PI, that was a PI textbook call.
I'll admit that. Yeah,
that was like
a pass
blatant
interference.
PI.
I also do have a couple other things here. Umpire Terry Killens, down judge Patrick Holt. I don't know if you guys care about this. Line
It
judge
matters a little bit.
Mark Perlman, field judge Tom Hill, side judge Aylin Baines,
Yeah. Baines.
back judge Brad Freeman, and replay official Mike Chase.
So to give you perspective on why I say he's my Angel Hernandez, he obviously that 2018 PI,
Yeah.
2020 Super Bowl calls a offensive pass interference on George Kittle after making a 50-yard catch.
Uh-huh.
Because Kittle had his arm extended, which is completely legal. Not pushing, not shoving, completely legal.
Within 5 yards of receiving of the ball?
Yeah, it was an arm extension. Like, the receiver was there, but it was just, there was no pushing. He could not have pushed, his arm was fully extended. Made a great catch, 53-yard catch. Could have gotten us a touchdown, because it was within the 5. Negated. So we took a field goal. And I think that part of that played into the L. There was also... 3rd and 15, Bosa is getting egregiously held. Like bro over here. Like, the lineman's got him here.
Uh-huh.
Misses the call. Tyreek Hill has, like, a 30-yard catch. Chiefs go up. Rest is history. Like, absolute, debauchery level play calling. And the fact that him and his girl are coming back for this rematch specifically makes me want to cahoot myself. For legal reasons, that's a joke. Obviously... Everybody knows what my pick's going to be. I think San Francisco's got this. I don't want to say in the bag. I think this is going to be a tough one. Everybody's going to need to step up and have their best games. I think Kittle is due for a good breakout because everybody else in playoffs has gotten one but him. I think he's going to have at least a receiving touchdown. I think McCaffrey's going to have at least 85 yards rushing and a touchdown. I think Brock's going to really put himself in there. I think he's going to put a foot in the door and really get this going, because he showed the second half of Detroit, he can put shit on his shoulders. He can really get it going. He's got his legs when he needs to. He's got the accuracy when he needs to. So I just think that if we keep things consistent and we really don't, if we stay true to ourselves, we win this game.
If we believe the power of friendship.
I'm not using the power of friendship. I'm just saying if
Matt Nagy's better than Steve Wilkes.
Yeah, crazy because Matt Nagy's not in the Super Bowl, anyways.
Yeah, he is.
What team is he back on? Kansas
Yeah,
City?
yeah.
When did he go back to Kansas City?
This past offseason.
Oh, womp womp. Don't care. That's the worst Chiefs offense the last 5 years. So
Bears and
Wasn't
Astronaut.
he? What wasn't?
he was on the Bears when they last won.
I know, but wasn't he on the Chiefs before?
He was. He's
And,
been
pretty solid.
He's been on and off.
He was on the
of
2017
Andy Reid's-
Chiefs team.
He's been on and off Andy Reid's coaching staff for a hot minute. That coaching tree goes crazy.
Oh! No, he was on the Chiefs coaching staff last season when they won the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, because he came back last.
Yeah, he was. I'm looking at it right now.
He got fired from the Bears, I think.
In 2021.
Yeah.
He wasn't. He didn't play. He didn't coach in 2022.
I'm looking at it right now. Senior assistant and quarterbacks coach.
It quite literally says right here.
Bro's pulling up the iPad.
A gap.
I'm literally looking at it right now. It's
Where are you looking at it?
Wikipedia.
Where
I'm
are you
looking
looking
at
at it?
Pro Football Reference, which is more trustworthy than Wikipedia.
Career
Anyways.
highlights and awards as coach. Super Bowl champion 58.
58.
Or sorry, 57.
Hey, wait a minute.
Street
wait a goddamn minute.
What does Wikipedia know? But anyways, didn't coach
Yeah.
in 2022, but that's besides the point.
Sources disputed. Want to get into our awards argument now?
Yeah, we can do that quickly.
Yeah. Real quickly.
Oops.
What is it? We got Coach of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, Offensive and Defensive Rookie, Offensive and Defensive Player, and then MVP.
Yeah, more or less.
Okay.
I think there's Assistant Coach of the Year, but like nobody really gives
Yeah.
a shit about that.
Yeah.
Let's start with Comeback Player of the Year. I know among this group there's been some discussion. It's gonna be DeMar Hamlin, whether y'all like it or not.
Nope, womp womp. Don't care. Joe Flacco.
It's gonna be DeMar Hamlin.
Joe
whether you
Flacco
like it or
himself
not.
has said it should be Hamlin.
I don't care.
It's gonna be Hamlin, whether y'all like it or
I
not.
was gonna say something, but it should not be aired.
I've been holding back this whole
I'm
time.
biting my tongue really bad right now.
It's the best thing.
Here, NFL Coach of the Year. I forget who the nominees are for each award.
Wasn't T.J. Watt one of the defensive players of the year?
Probably. Oh, actually no. Hang on. I changed my mind. Matt Stafford is Comeback Player of the Year.
Okay, calm down.
No.
All right, buddy.
Not even close.
He is a nominee. He's a nominee. Anyways,
Yes, but has 0.
Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Will Anderson.
Rookie.
Will Anderson is my.
It's either Will Anderson or Jalen Carter. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'd say Jalen Carter. I'd say Jalen Carter is a really close second. In my mind, it's Will Anderson. But
Yep.
I think either of them I'd be happy with, honestly.
In my heart, it's Kobe Turner.
It's actually Brian Branch.
Oh yeah, it's
obviously
Keely Ringo
Cam's
actually.
Who?
Keely Ringo.
Who?
Keely Ringo, baby.
Hey, bro.
Will
Bro
Anderson.
was legit.
Is that one? Is that one of your white safeties?
Offensive
he's a
Rookie.
corner?
Offensive Rookie of the Year. Y'all can
Stroud.
debate
It's
a
Stroud.
brick wall. Puka Nakua is the truth. He is the way.
Stroud.
He is the light in the darkness.
Stroud.
Okay, Stroud's a close second.
No, Stroud.
Give me-
Stroud's got
Stroud
that
is
shit on lock.
Stroud wishes he could be.
Y'all want
Puka.
to talk about QB awards? Stroud's got that shit on lock, dude.
It's gonna be
No,
Stroud.
What about
Offensive
wide
Rookie.
receiver awards?
They
What
don't
wide receiver
exist.
records?
Stroud's
Okay,
got
with
that
that
shit
argument,
back.
okay, listen. Nakua had the best rookie wide receiver season ever. Laporta had the best rookie tight end season ever. It's gonna go to Stroud.
It's
And
gonna be
Bijan
Stroud.
Robinson is just better than all of them.
Bijan.
Bijan was crickets.
Yeah, because the fucking Atlanta offense doesn't know how to use their rookie. God damn it.
Real.
Very true.
I'll say Nakua still.
I'm still holding on to Nakua.
can't-
Coach of the
As,
Year.
as awesome as Stroud is.
D'Amico. 100% needs to go to D'Amico
What did you say?
Ryans.
Dan
Coach of the
Campbell.
Year.
Oh, Coach of the Year?
If it's
I'd
not
say
if
either
it's-
Ryans or Campbell.
If it's not Campbell or D'Amico, I will be thoroughly upset because both of those guys deserve it for completely turning around their franchises. Now, the only reason in my mind I think D'Amico has a one-up on Campbell is the immediate turnaround. Because Houston was dog water. At least with Detroit, you saw the build-up and you saw like you saw them like kind of going places. You know, that you had a 3-13 and then a 9-8 and then the 12-5 to cap it off. But with Houston, it was like immediate like 10-7, 11-6. I don't remember what their record was, but
10-7.
okay, 10-7. So it was like an immediate turnaround to just throw them in the playoffs. So I think D'Amico deserves it. If Campbell gets it, I would not be mad at all.
And just putting it out there, the other nominees for that are Stefanski, LaFleur, and McVay.
No.
Campbell.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
no, was Shanahan not on the list?
Not in the final tally.
Who?
Interesting.
I'm just kidding.
How about Matt
probably-
Patricia?
Wait. What did you just say?
Who?
Spencer, what did you say?
Oh, I thought I saw early reports that Shanahan was on the list, so I didn't know.
Shanahan is on the list. Yes, he is.
Okay. Obviously, I would want to pick Shanahan, but I don't think he's the most deserving out of all these coaches this year.
Defensive
Especially
player
with
of
that
the year. Defensive player of the year.
Defensive player of the
The,
year.
the nominees I have here are...
Whatever his name is, Bland, that Cowboys corner.
Are
That
The
pick
worst
six
corner
merchant.
in coverage all
Team-
season.
Pick six merchant.
I got T.J. Watt, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, Max Crosby, and Roquan Smith.
I
Garrett
have
Watt.
I have Deron Bland instead of Roquan.
I know Deron Bland is a nominee.
Pick six merchant. No, I think I genuinely think it'll be. Do I want to say TJ?
Yeah,
It's between TJ or Miles, honestly.
I think I'm gonna
Garrett
go
or
with.
Watt.
I think I'm gonna go with TJ.
I think I'm leaning towards TJ. But
As much as I would love for it to be Crosby.
It's gonna be Max
Crosby didn't have the season Garrett or
Yeah,
TJ
I know. Offensive Player of the Year.
McCaffrey.
Most likely gonna.
What's the lineup there though?
It's only giving me McCaffrey and Tyreek.
Okay, it is Tyreek Hill,
Tyreek.
Lamar Jackson, CeeDee Lamb,
this is
Christian
CBS
McCaffrey,
Sports, by the way.
and Dak Prescott.
Oh,
Dak Prescott's crazy.
No.
That's crazy.
Just give it to McCaffrey, man.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
McCaffrey's got that.
Yeah, McCaffrey.
And then the MVP award.
The quarterback award, you mean?
Funny you say that because the only nominees listed are quarterbacks.
Even though McCaffrey is a finalist.
Yep.
Yes, but the final tally, according to CBS Sports, are only quarterbacks.
Such a shame.
We got Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and
Jared Goff.
He had,
You know
Jared
what?
Goff.
I take that back.
He had 40 total touchdowns this year.
It's Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and system merchant Brock Purdy.
It's just a cry about it. Cry about it.
It's just gonna be Lamar. I mean,
Check down
It
merchant.
shouldn't be.
it
Bro,
shouldn't be, but it is.
Like, legitimately, look at the stats. Look at you don't watch games. Like, I'm sick of you doing this just to, like, start shit. Like, actually watch football for once in your life.
Are you seriously saying that? Bro, watch a Ravens game, please.
Oh my god, one game out of a 17-game regular season. I could say the
What?
same thing about... I could say the same thing about...
What? You watched one game out of 17, and you're saying
No, I thought you were saying...
McCaffrey is... Oh my god.
What?
Nah.
Are you... What did I say about McCaffrey?
My asshole is gaping. Like,
I don't even know how that plays into football.
that is crazy. Bro
No,
just
I
admitted to not watching the Ravens.
I did regularly and was not impressed by a single thing he did.
You just said
Bro
you
had-
watched one game out of 17.
I thought you were talking San Francisco versus Baltimore, you Neanderthal. I didn't think you
Oh,
were talking
why
about
would
the
I be
entirety
talking
of their
ab-
season.
That's what I meant. That's literally what I said. Anyway,
Because he was... No, he
It's
was
Lamar's
talking
Lamar
about
Ball.
Brock. No, this is the weakest...
I was calling Brock a check down merchant
Because it shows you don't watch football.
because it shows that I'm right.
No. And then tell me how does the man routinely have the most passing yards through the air, the most completions through the air, a better passer
because
rating
bro
than all of
has
those
that though?
more attempts
Can
through
you prove
the
that though?
air.
Yeah, I can. I've literally sent. I have so many images in that group chat of stats on stats on stats, and you go, ooh, edited, Photoshop.
I mean, yeah, your Photoshop skills definitely need some work, but
Stephen Hawking. That's all I'm gonna add.
Damn!
hell nah,
That's all I'm gonna leave it
no.
at.
hell nah.
That's all I'm gonna leave it at.
All I'm gonna say is
But no,
Sam
Lamar
Howell is the
Jackson's
best
getting the
quarterback.
award.
Sam Howell.
Sam Howell.
That he
Nice.
lost that legacy game. I want you to know.
Doesn't matter. It's still a legacy game. Regardless of how it acts towards the legacy, it's still a legacy game.
That is so funny.
Oh,
Fucking lost that game. Y'all were trying to do something. Y'all really thought y'all had something with that. It's okay.
How does this impact Sam Howell's legacy?
That's the question.
Bro walked into a Walmart at 3:59 p.m. How does this affect Sam Howell's legacy?
Okay.
Literally Joe Flacco winning comeback player of the year. How does this
What?
affect Sam Howell's
MVP was the last one, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it for NFL.
Okay.
Go
Just
Lamar.
fucking finally.
Oh man, that is it for the National Football League, and probably the last time we'll talk about it after the Super Bowl. Okay, so next up we got the NHL with the All-Star recap. So, I thought the passing challenge was boring as fuck.
Yeah.
That was the most boring thing. Like, if you want to make a passing challenge, make it to, like, at how many one-touch passes you can make with someone else, or like something, like not hitting cones, man.
Yeah, it was pretty. There were okay. There were some that were misses, like the passing challenge, but I think the one-on-one was really good. Of course, you have the classics, the fastest skater, the hardest shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think overall it was good. It was watchable. It was better than most recent years.
Yeah.
I liked the drafting format, although some of the jerseys were awful. Some of them were good. I think it was overall
They're
pretty
just
fun.
the
They had
same jersey with different colors. Am I wrong?
pretty much like the pants and gloves were different.
Well, yeah,
They
but
looked
like
better.
some of those colors like didn't work well. Like only like the blue and the yellow ones looked okay.
The yellow was clean.
And then the red one looked like a communist party. Fucking.
Basically, that could have been a like anytime Olympic Russia uniform.
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyways, but no, I think it was great. I think the celebrities they brought on were great too. Great for the exposure for the game. Justin Bieber, Tate McRae, Michael Bublé. It's all, although Michael Bublé was, you know,
On mushrooms.
on shrooms, but I think that's great for the game. I think it's
What
great
was
to grow
Blood
it.
talking about?
Just the one and only problem I have with the game, and this is the same problem that I have with the Pro Bowl, is, you know, the lack of effort in a lot of the like competition and like especially like the main games. It's just kind of like the best players in the world, but they're half-assing most of the competitions and, you know, the big games. Same with the NFL Pro Bowl. Like I feel like they need more incentives, but it was still better than more recent years, and you know they're changing it soon. So,
Hey, but noted Blue Jacket All-Star Boone Jenner sending his message throughout the message throughout the league. You know he's related to the Jenner family, and they excluded him because of the way he wanted to live his life playing hockey instead of being a model.
bro has to be lying right now.
This is the Yapaholic if I've ever
real?
heard one. No way.
Someone fact check this.
It's
Damn.
it's what I've seen. That's true.
What's his name? Boone Jenner?
Boone
Yeah, Boone Jenner.
And then Nick, you had something to add?
Yeah. You guys kind of moved away with the Boone Jenner comment, but I just think there's two problems with the way that the All-Star system works for the NHL. The first one is I really, really am tired of the one player from each team and then everyone votes on like two or three other players. I hate it. I think it's awful. It really just should be the best players, because there's players that just get snubbed time and time again that should be in the All-Star game. And I get it. It doesn't really mean that in the brand, you know, but there's no way like some of these players should have been in the All-Star game. And it's just like, if you're giving every team, I understand to make it fair, but like, and there's also not many players that can go because it's a 3-on-3. I don't know if they changed that, but it's a 3-on-3 game. I don't know. I don't know. I just think that we should have more, just go back to the old format where they just would have it just be a vote, and that's what it is. But also the second issue I have, really quick, is that the skills competition, I would imagine the hardest shot is the most like talked about, is the one that people kind of, it's like their staple. But they don't really have a staple event. And like the MLB has the home run derby, and that makes tons of profit. And the NBA has the dunk contest that people tune in year out to watch. The NFL doesn't have anything like that. They tried it with the dodgeball game, but that shit just got boring. And
Hail Mary comp.
honestly, the Hail Mary comp. And
Just
then
bring Rodgers and Allen into it.
Yeah, do something. Just try. You gotta like find something that's gonna click, and the NHL hasn't really found that. The fastest skater is just a McDavid show off, and the hardest shot is just whichever defenseman is taller and stronger.
Yeah, one thing I did want to add though is you did bring up how, like, you know, not having one person from every team. Like, I get that, but like one thing that I want to say, this is from my personal experience, is that like there was no Vegas representative this year, and I didn't watch any of the games. Whereas the previous years when there was, like, I would watch it just to see my guys go out there. And it's like, I can see why they'd want to have one of every player, just to like have every team be included. Maybe if there was like a happy medium we could meet there. But like I didn't watch anything other than what I watched when I was in like a dining room watching, like with the TVs on the game. I didn't tune in at all because none of my guys were playing in any of the competitions.
Yeah, I can see that being like an issue for some teams, and I can see that. And I guess I'm comparing it to the NFL, and more players. There's more positions in the NFL, you know, and so naturally most teams will have Pro Bowl picks anyways. So I can see that, and I didn't watch it, and I had a player in the game too. Well, from both my teams I had players. But I didn't watch it I just didn't watch it. So I don't know. I just haven't been a fan of their new format and the way that they have been marketing it. And they always be flexing that the team wins $1 million, and I'm like, okay, cool. But yeah. Needless to say, I don't know. Not a huge fan of the way that they do it. And they don't have like a staple event that everyone's tuning in to watch. The hardest shot is probably their more, like I said, it's probably the most talked about. But
I think I think, for the NHL to really bring in people to watch the All-Star game, I want a goalie boxing match.
Oh, bring back Mike Smith and
Sick.
have Cam Talbot fight.
They need to do stupid stuff
Tim
like that.
Thomas.
Like, remember when we had like goalies doing the fastest skater?
I would kill in full pads. I would
Yes,
kill
in full
I would
pads.
kill to see that.
And
That
then
shit
like
was funny.
they got rid of, I think they got rid of the shootout contest, which was kind of like, it was funny, you know. Although
That
like
was
sometimes
fun.
it's kind of cringe.
Do like a one-on-one, like a.
They do have one-on-ones, which was
Okay.
great, but they need like a silly one where you can do like props and gags and stupid things like
Wait,
that.
Bring in a chair.
Exactly. Like,
Wait,
ugh.
do y'all remember when they did the shot from the stands? They just
Yes.
like rifled it from like the top of the 100 section and just sent it and tried to shoot it into the net. That shit was so funny.
I would see that. I would pay to see that.
Like stupid stuff like that. And like I feel like this is kind of a nitpicky thing that Christian and I talked about last time, but like if there is a current record holder, like they should be in the game to try to defend their record. Like I know like Martin Firk had like 109-mile-per-hour slap shot.
107.9, I believe.
107.9.
The record holder is Zdeno Chara.
Yeah, Zdeno Chara.
108.
Well,
I'd say active.
Well,
you know?
here's the thing. Like, we say Martin Firk had that record in the AHL, which tops Zdeno Chara's record. I
Like
think.
here's
Wait,
so
what
last,
was it? 107?
Yeah.
It's either 107.9 or 109.7.
It's probably 109 if it's better, because Zdeno did 108.8. I remember.
Okay. Anyways, like one thing that I noticed, like last year, they brought on like guests that weren't actually at the All-Star game. Like I think they brought out Zegras, which for the,
With Zach Bell, right?
yeah, for the shootout contest, and like this year they brought out Connor McDavid to be a guest passer. Like these people that like are known for these kind of things, like they should be able to like come in and compete as guests, even if they're not like selected to the
Yeah,
All-Star
I
game.
mean,
In some of the skill comps, like
more fan interaction.
the way they're doing it now with like the point system and stuff, it may be difficult, but
Yeah. And of course, Matthews voted as MVP
in Toronto, who would have
in
guessed?
Toronto.
The Toronto
Pretends
Maple
to
Leafs
be
and
shocked.
friends decided to,
Yeah.
win the game in Toronto with Justin Bieber.
It's just so selfish. And who won yesterday? Team McKinnon? Right?
Matthews.
Matthews. Yeah, Matthews.
That's right.
Team Matthews won against Team McDavid for the $1 million prize?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, fun little weekend. Entertaining. Better than the few years before. Oh, and before we move on to the hot topic, the All-Star game for next year has been not canceled, but like it has been replaced with this cool new thing called the Four-Nation Face-Off between USA, Canada, Finland, and Sweden to play a tournament style in the U.S. and all players must be under an NHL contract. I think that's pretty cool. Obviously it's kind of sucks that they don't have Russia in there.
But it's understandable.
Or at least like a neutral flag for all the Eastern European players to play at.
Yeah,
You know.
something like that. I think that'll be exciting. But the one thing we're really excited for is the NHL's return to the Winter Olympics in 2026 and 2030. I need myself another TJ Oshie shootout against,
Oh, yeah.
who was it, Bobrovsky?
Isn't TJ gonna be like 40 something by the time that rolls
Yeah,
around?
probably.
So that thing kind of sucks. Like they waited so long, so like we missed out on some prime years of like Patrick Kane, Sidney Crosby,
Yeah.
Joe Pavelski, Alex Ovechkin, like all these guys that were in their prime the last time we were in the Olympics. Now they're aging and they're the
Yeah.
twilights of their career. But
Well,
at least
but
it's
then-
back,
Yeah, then they're gonna have McKinnon, Rantanen, and McDavid all in the Olympics now.
which is great.
Draisaitl
Which is
probably
great.
carrying Germany to like the first round
Yeah.
and just like getting dunked on.
Basically, I'm glad it's back.
What do you mean? What do I mean? You know
He's not
what's
the
gonna
only
happen?
German hockey player.
Okay, Moritz Seider. Who else?
Philip
Give me
Grubauer,
another name.
Olaf Kolzig, Tim Stutzla.
Obviously, you
Okay,
JJ
have thought of me.
Stutzla.
Stutzla,
Tim
Thomas
Stutz-
Greiss. Fucking...
known Olympic diver Tim Stutzla.
You want
Tim
to talk about
Susan.
Olympic diving, Mr. Kazakhstan?
The context is crazy. The lack of context is crazy.
The no
The
context, is wild.
crazy.
For context, in EA Sports NHL 24, to defend against Spencer's shots, I dive block all the time.
absolutely
team-
destroying
as team-
my kneecap.
as Team Kazakhstan. Anyway, moving past that. But yeah, I think it's exciting news for the outreach of hockey, and seeing the international play return for the NHL players will be sick. Now is the time. The Los Angeles Kings have fired Todd McClellan.
Damn.
Okay.
Max the mic.
Before, yeah, I totally did max the mic. And they maxed the mic too. Sorry, Braeden. Yeah.
Apologizing to our editors right now.
Yeah. Okay, so before I get irrational, let's get rational.
Not
first.
the word
The Kings are winning the Stanley Cup! Plan the parade!
Just max it. Bro, y'all are mic maxing merchants over here.
I don't want to hear it from the hater over there, over in Austin.
Okay. Okay. So, what we saw at the beginning of the year was perhaps the best you could see out of a Todd McClellan system. But over the weekend where they played the Islanders and the Rangers
They got put on
in
front watch.
in New York, yes, we did. And then since then, we went 3-14 with a bunch of overtime and shootout losses. I'm surprised it didn't happen at least 8 games in. And obviously with Luke Robitaille and Rob Blake with their nepotism, they don't want to fire him. But season may have well just slipped away for us. We went from a lock in the third in the Pacific to all the way down to a second wild card with teams chasing. Who's chasing us right now? Let me see.
Stats. Pull up the stats.
I believe it's Nashville. We're okay, here it is. We are first wild card spot, 2 points ahead of St. Louis. We are 56.
Nashville.
They are 54. Nashville is 54. I'm not sure what the tiebreakers are if Nashville ties. I think they go ahead because we haven't played as many games as them. Excuse me.
That's why St. Louis has the tiebreaker over Nashville right now.
Yeah. But yeah, they just kind of just let it go. I mean, players stopped responding. Even Drew Doughty said in a post-game interview after the Anze Kopitar milestone game, players in here are caring too much about themselves and their points, which you could point fingers to say Kempe or Fiala. I remember hearing someone say Trevor Moore, and honestly that makes a lot of sense. But here's the thing though. When Todd McClellan got fired that morning, I have never felt so smart as a fan of the sport.
Big brain.
Because I saw every other fan base react, saying that was a huge mistake. It was pure. This is what Pierre-Luc Dubois does to teams. Shit like that. It's not true. And I'll tell you why it's not true. Here's how Todd McClellan's offense works, at least with the Kings, in his tenure. It is a perimeter entry that gets followed up with a drop pass with an 80-foot east-west pass that can get picked off. I can ice a team of preschoolers that can defend that. I'm not kidding. Children that can't even walk can defend against that entry.
Yeah, they'll just have to dive in front of the puck.
Kazakhstan national team could defend against that.
Exactly.
I would hope so.
Dmitry Grentz, 59 overall second line center from Team Kazakhstan.
I will kill myself if I hear that name again.
Can defend against the Los Angeles Kings offensive entry. Now, the one player that does not do that, Pierre-Luc Dubois. He is 6'3". He enters down the middle, right? And when you enter down the middle, it is an expectation that you crash the net with your wingers.
Just dive straight into it.
His wingers,
They just
although
stand there.
they have been changing, but it's usually Arthur Kaliev and Alex Laferriere. But
Bookworm.
when Pierre-Luc Dubois enters down the goes down the middle, Alex Laferriere and fucking Kaliev or whoever it is standing at the half wall, and Pierre-Luc Dubois is dishing to nobody. You know, with an expectation of like wingers that are supposed to attack the net with him. So obviously Pierre-Luc Dubois is not producing as many assists as he's expected to, or at least with the contract he's expected to. And yeah, his lack of production is of course like it is like under expectations, but you know, with the offensive system that was put in place, you know, with the misuse of assets, like, oh, let's have Trevor Lewis as center instead of winger. When Jarrett Anderson Dolan, the one person I want to see on the Kunlun Red Star team, he can center that fourth line while Blake Lazat's injured. I don't know why. Jarrett Anderson Dolan's been all over those forward positions. He can play center. Not Trevor Lewis cannot play center. I'm sorry, it's just not true. It's that. I remember when we first brought in Fiala, and Fiala was like the one-timer on the power play. Like, what is that? Have him be the front net presence. Why is he one-timing from the circle? Other than that, like, just you're not playing your best defenseman. Like, you can't have Andreas Englund in every single game just for the sake of having sandpaper on your team, and that he is the one person that can fight, like can actually fight, other than maybe like Alex Laferriere. And last night Brant Clark had his first fight ever in his career against the Calgary Wranglers. But you know, it's misuse of assets like 100%, and it's just, you know, they tried moving Pierre-Luc Dubois to the wing, and that just completely defied the organization statements of saying, we want depth down the middle, meaning we want center depth, and they're using him as a wing. Like, give me a break, man. It's so frustrating. You know, if you have a problem with scoring, you want Jordan Spence and Brant Clark in your lineup. You could have Matt Roy on his offhand, which is completely fine. Matt Roy can do anything that anything that you could put him to, left or right side. And, you know, although the goalies have for sure cooled off, you know, Cam Talbot's numbers did for sure drop after his All-Star announcement. You know, the Kings bring in Jim Hiller, who was the assistant coach to Todd McClellan. Hopefully he's just not a copy and paste. Although he does have the interim tag right now. I would for sure like to see someone like Craig Berube or what's his name, Dean Evison, as the coach of this team, because you know Craig Berube can for sure light up that locker room and lead it. But can't play Andreas Englund every single night. Can't have Trevor Lewis as center. Can't have Jarrett Anderson Dolan on the third line. You know, with his defensive liabilities, it was so frustrating. And of course, Turcotte, Clark, and someone else got sent down to they played games for Ontario, but you know, hopefully they bring them back up after this loan. And that's what I have to say about it. You know, I'm glad. You know, here's what I will say. Todd McClellan brought us out of the rebuild, and that's awesome. Like, as fast as he could, that was sick. But, you know, when it came playoff time, and in the middle of this season, yeah, he needed to go. And when I woke up to my phone exploding from the news that he got fired, I was ecstatic. It was awesome. So, that's my grandstand on that. Nick, I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Yeah, I did, and I think one of the first points that you had about what Drew Daddy said about the locker room and how they're focusing on points, and I don't know why the expectation wasn't set earlier that this team is a all for one, not one for all. If I use that correctly, like this team scores a lot of points, but it is not individual. We do not have a Connor McDavid that's going to suck up all of the points. It's just none of the guys are like that. And so we need to the expectation should have been set that this team is 100% a team that is going to be scoring points together, and every line is going to get involved, and every line is going to play well, and every line has to be able to score, because we lead the league in points for, but each line is spreading that out, and that's what honestly made the Kings a really good team this beginning of the season, because all four lines were being able to score, and not many teams could defend four good lines, and that's what made the Kings honestly top five team in the league, is that they could get it done. The failure to make adjustments entirely ruined Todd McClellan's tenure and entirely ruined what we had going, because the team would get these leads, and this is something I've said probably multiple times on this podcast and multiple times to this group, is that the Kings this season, that they were doing better than last season, which they did not have a great ending of that season, is the Kings were now getting these leads early, and they were not able to finish them. They couldn't end the game.
Well, they're defending them now at the beginning of the year.
Yes, at the beginning of the year, they were playing a full game, a full 60 minutes, and that was great, and that's how they kept winning. But then they stopped playing. They only played 40 minutes, and then comebacks, and then they only started playing 30 minutes, and then it just became unpredictable. If you wanted to count up how many games we started with a 3-goal lead and gave it up, we probably would be the number one team in the league right now, by record and by points. Because the fact is that you can't start a game strong and just not finish it. Because a lot of these teams that you get good leads on, these teams are the teams that can come back. And if you're not going to use your timeouts, your challenges, your breaks wisely, your team's going to lose. And that's going to happen every time. And all they need to do is tie you, because then they take you to overtime. They at least get a point. You at least get a point. But they are probably a better overtime team, because our coaching staff does not know how to put a 3-man team out there.
Oh my God.
Does not know how to use them. Does not know how to play them. Putting fast with slow, and then it's just a dumpster fire. It's just, the team needed a completely reworking, and as much as, we can thank Todd for getting us out of the rebuild as fast as he did, we cannot thank him for this season, because he just completely let it fall apart, and he had no accountability. Yes, he tried to take some accountability, but that was after we lost like 7 or 8 in a row.
Yeah,
and
like 2
the
of
season
14.
was already starting to slip from our hands. So now, All-Star break, get an interim coach. I think this team could turn it around, because, like I said, it's not on the players entirely. It's the coaching staff in the locker room. You lose both of those, team just does whatever they want. You just look like an AHL roster out there. So, yeah, that's really what I have to say. You said it perfectly about more of the technical side and more of the play-making side. You just can't do the same things and expect different outcomes. You really can't.
Here was the one thing I wanted to add while you were talking. While you were saying that we don't have a Connor McDavid, we don't have an Austin Matthews. Like, I remember looking this morning when I woke up, and before I took a shower, I went on Instagram and I saw a post from, I believe it was All Sports Culture or All Hockey Culture, showing how many teams have a point per game plus player. The Kings, they have 0. And obviously that could have been different, like when we were like doing good at the beginning of the season. But our best player is Kevin Fiala, and by numbers,
He is the best player. Obviously, we're not going to talk about the 19 offensive zone penalties he's taken. But he is the most points, I'm pretty sure. And like you said, this team always rolls when it's a balanced four line offense. And, we never really had point per game player. Now, the overtime. Why are we at least not starting Philip Deneau, Trevor Moore, and, Spence?
I don't know, man. You gotta put pads on me first.
Not...
Yeah, put me out there, coach. I'll do it.
Hey, listen,
Why are you being a bitch?
Listen, I know how to dive into some ankles. I can do it. It's fine.
But yeah, why are we always starting with Kopitar, Doughty, Kempe? Look, I love those players. Those players are awesome, but you gotta realize Kempe is fast. Kopitar is not. That is
Kobe's old.
Yeah, Kobe is old. As sad it is to say, Kopitar is very old.
36
for by league standards, and honestly, if you're mixing Kempe with Kopitar on very open ice, you are playing 3-on-2. That is just how it is. I've seen Byfield in overtime once this season. One time I can remember off the top of my head was when we were playing. I don't even remember who we were playing. Some team in blue. I forget. And he had a 40-second shift, and after that he was benched, replaced with someone else. And honestly, it's just so stupid how we weren't It was very clear that we weren't practicing 3-on-3 OT. And when we were in desperate need of scoring, desperate need of points, you're just throwing out the same shit. 11-9-8, 11-9-8, 11-9-8, and then you throw out Philip Deneau, Trevor Moore, and then perhaps maybe Roy or Gavrikov or Spence. You can't start with that, or you can't start with our best players, or something like that. It was very frustrating to watch. And one of the shootouts, you throw out Carl Grunstrom out there, what are you doing, man? Honestly, he got lucky one shootout in Seattle that won us the game, and that's it. He hasn't done anything in the shootout since, albeit it was one attempt. But, oh my god, it was frustrating to watch. And, my voice is just getting tired from just ranting on how bad Todd McClellan's offense was after the downfall. But, seriously, a new voice was needed. Hopefully Jim Hiller's just not a copy and paste, like I said earlier, and it's just I'll stay optimistic about Jim Hiller, but honestly, I really want Craig Berube as this team's head coach. I think he'd do a fantastic job.
I agree. I agree with the Berube pick. Honestly, he would do much better.
As much as people have said oh, let's get Jay Woodcroft. No, I want Jay Woodcroft far away as fuck away from this team, please. That man's face is so sockable. But yeah, that's the McClellan stand. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
No. You said it perfectly.
Yeah, well.
Okay, next we got MLB free agency recap.
Oh yeah, baby.
And Nick, I'll let you lead off.
Yes, thank you. So I did my due diligence to look it up, and the website that I've been using, CBS, is kind of shitty, so bear with me on this one. But we talked about Ohtani and Yamamoto in previous episodes, so we won't talk about them here. I'm just gonna. I feel like the best way to do this is I'll kind of run through the top guys, read their contracts, and if there's any y'all want to talk about, we could talk about it. And then I feel like we could probably then move on to who's left and talk about that too. So, Aaron Nola signs a 7-year, $172 million deal with the Philadelphia Phillies. Eduardo Rodriguez signs a 4-year, $80 million deal with Arizona Diamondbacks. Marcus Stroman signs a 2-year, $37 million contract with the Yankees. Lucas Giolito signs a 2-year, $38.5 million deal with the Red Sox. Kevin Kiermaier stays with the Blue Jays with a 1-year, $10 million deal. Sonny Gray moves to the Cardinals with a 3-year, $75 million deal. My boy Rhys Hoskins moves on and signs with the Milwaukee Brewers on a 2-year, $34 million deal. Josh Hader goes from one enemy to another enemy, from the Padres to the Astros, on a 5-year, $95 million deal. Lourdes Gurriel signs an extension, 3 years, $42 million. And it kind of just keeps going. There's not too much after that. Jordan Hicks signs a 4-year, $44 million deal. Teoscar Hernandez signs a 1-year, $23.5 million deal with the Dodgers. Michael Wacha goes to the Royals on a 2-year deal. And I'm trying to see if there's any other guys that's really notable. 35-year-old Aroldis Chapman signs a 1-year deal with Pittsburgh.
Oh boy.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. Curious to see what y'all have to think about that. There's still a lot of guys left, though, to be completely honest.
Did we already talk Soto to the Yankees on this podcast already?
I don't know if we did.
I
I think we did, but I'm not 100% sold.
I don't
What
know.
are the contract
that
details
was
on that?
Let me check up the Juan Soto. The Juan Soto deal. It is a. I don't even know. What was the? Hold on. I now have to find it. Juan Soto is getting paid $31.5 million a year, but I don't know why I can't find it.
Find how long?
Find how long. Hold on. I will find this if it's the last thing I do.
I'm looking it up alongside with you. I think, is it just 1 year? It might be just 1 year.
It might just be a 1 year. Yeah, it's 1 year, $31 million deal,
Okay.
which is kind of bonkers.
Yeah, that's a lot of money for 1 year. For a whole
yeah.
lot of nothing. What?
I mean,
With
I don't know if that's a whole lot of nothing.
I didn't see. Well, I'm talking his production.
Oh, God, I guess.
Yeah, because when I saw when he was in San Diego, I wasn't so impressed. I'll be real. Maybe my expectations were a little too high. I don't know if some like with you. What would you think? Like Soto's time in San Diego. I thought it was underwhelming.
Very underwhelming. No, he did not do a lot in San Diego. No, let's be real. That was supposed to be a super team that they were touting was going to bring them to the World Series, and they
but
didn't do anything.
he got 6th in MVP voting, had 35 home runs on 109 RBIs. It's both almost that's career record for home runs and almost RBIs. He had 12 stolen bases. He had a pretty high strikeout, but he also had the highest walks in the league. And he batted .275 with a .930 OPS, 158 OPS plus, which is actually insane. I don't know. I think he did really good this season. Not his best season, the 2020 season. No, it's really hard to compare to that because he pretty much broke every record that season. But I don't know. I just think.
Well, who was he? Who was he? I don't know if you have that list in front of you. Who was he behind in that MVP voting?
He was behind Ronald Acuna, Mookie
Okay.
Betts, Freddie
Okay.
Freeman, Matt
Okay.
Olson, and Corbin Carroll. Which I do honestly think he was better than 3 of those guys. He had a better season than 3 of those guys.
Yeah, and then like three legitimate options, perhaps.
Yeah. I'd say he's better than Corbin Carroll, and probably I would say better than Freddie Freeman's season.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just me.
Do we want to talk about what you just said?
We can't.
So we just got word from Waj. Sucks that we're not doing this in the middle of the NBA thing.
76ers
Did we get
star
a whoosh
Joel
bomb?
Joel Embiid, the reigning MVP, will undergo a procedure this week to repair a left meniscus injury. A recovery timeline is expected after the procedure. Oh, after the procedure, but the expectation is that Embiid will miss the extended period of time. That was expected, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to say that
options.
I thought he was going to be out for the rest of the season. I thought that's what it was going to say. Anyway, but yeah, like for Juan Soto, I mean, the Yankees missed the playoffs, didn't they?
I think they did.
Yeah, them and the Red Sox. I remember that crazy stat. Yankees and Red Sox both missed the playoffs for the first time in like 15 years, something like that.
Yeah.
Will that help? Will you think that helped the Yankees offense like extraordinarily, or just like, let's see where this goes for this 1 year, and if he does extraordinarily, he gets an extension?
I think personally, it is a phenomenal pickup for the Yankees. And here's why, okay? The Yankees, their problem was, right, they have a few guys that can literally hit the ball to the moon, okay? But the problem for the Yankees is there weren't many guys on base when that happened. So Juan Soto has every year Juan Soto gets on base a remarkable amount of times. He usually leads the league in walks. He usually has a very high on base percentage, which is walks and hits combined. He's a good guy to get on base. He hits for average rather than for power. That's why 35 is a crazy high number for him. And he also is a very good situational hitter. He frequently is in the high 90s, low 100s for RBIs, which is top of the league. The concern would be the fielding, but I mean, if we've seen that with, notably the Phillies teams, if you can out hit a team, the pitching staff and the defense don't matter that much. As long as you can send the ball into the stands in the outfield, it don't mean much in terms of defense. So I think that this is a very good upgrade for them. I think regardless, any team that picks up Juan Soto, that's a top 10 player in the league. Regardless of what you want to say, biased or unbiased, like that, he is a top 10 player in the league. And he's just a guy that will spark that offense, especially when Giancarlo Stanton, who's supposed to be there to hit for average and a bit of power, is not doing that. So I'd say that's a good pickup overall and should get them over the hump into the playoffs, assuming that their bullpen doesn't implode like it did last year.
I see. Okay. And who's left out there in free agency? With no team currently?
We have Cody Bellinger, Matt Chapman, Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery, Jorge Soler, JD Martinez, Tim Anderson, Clayton Kershaw, Hector Neris, Gary Sanchez, Michael Taylor, Michael Brantley, Tommy Pham, Hyunjin Ryu, G-Man Choi, and that's pretty much it.
I didn't even know Ryu was still playing. I'll be real.
Yeah, his numbers.
Bring Belly home. That's all I'm gonna say. Bring Belly home.
He was still on the Blue Jays, right, Ryu?
Yes.
That's what I remember. Okay. Yeah. Honestly, with Kershaw, from the majority Dodger fans here, if he wants to go compete, let him go compete. Honestly, personally, I don't see any problem with that. It would be awesome for him to stay.
I doubt he'll go anywhere else, though. I don't think he'd... They talk about the Rangers every year. About every time he signs 1 year, it's the Rangers are always brought up in contention. And I would say now more so than ever with them, finally winning something. But
yeah, they did win.
At the same time, he's spent so much time in LA, I really have a hard time seeing him go anywhere else.
You have to consider what's more likely to happen, that the Dodgers will finally be able to get over the hump this year, or that the Rangers will repeat. I don't know if this Rangers team is going to...
I don't think they'll repeat.
Make it out of the AL.
I think they're good. I think they'll make another run in playoffs. I don't think they're good enough to repeat.
Yeah.
I think
Same thing with Arizona.
Realistically, staying with the Dodgers would be his best chance at winning another ring before he retires.
If he sees something in Roberts system that is making him change his mind to go somewhere else. You know, all power to him, honestly. And it'll be a sad day that the day he does sign somewhere else. But like, you know, all power to him. You know, he was great here. I'm lucky I was able to see him pitch at least once, in person. But yeah, Bellinger still being out there. That's pretty.
Bring him home. I will die on that hill.
That's pretty shocking. And you said Tim Anderson.
Anderson,
the fight
known
merchant.
known fight merchant. He is still available. His season last year needs to be studied on one of the greatest fall-offs in MLB history.
Oh, 100%.
Bro could not hit a baseball for shit. I think
Bro
he had
couldn't
like
hit
1 or
someone's
2 home
face.
runs. Yeah,
Wasn't he the one that got knocked out in that fight? Yeah, I remember that.
Against Ramirez.
Yeah.
Was it Jose Ramirez?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jose
Jose
Ramirez. That was a fun episode when we did that.
Yeah, it was a good fight too.
Blake Snell being out there, that's still
I thought
Cy
he'd
Young
signed
winner.
I thought he'd signed with Seattle by now.
yeah. You think do you personally think that, like, you know, we're going to you for this baseball stuff. You personally think that Seattle's becoming a more attractive place to play?
Oh, 100% without a doubt. They established a baseball culture with Ichiro, and I think that Mariners team just had a really stinker of a time trying to sign players after Ichiro retired. And I think the way that they've built this team, they're young, they're fun, and they play a unique style of baseball where, like, they're gonna get it done regardless of how they do it. Because they've got guys that are good at defense, they've got guys that are good at hitting, they've got guys that can hit for average, for power. Their pitching staff is solid. It's just like they're a well-rounded team, and that's what kind of changes the game, is that a lot of these players are seeing that, hey, this is a fun little team that they got going on. Might as well go join them. They haven't really signed any big names.
Right.
But they also didn't really need to. They were part of a big trade this offseason. I'm going to try to see if I can find it. Yeah. They got right-hander Anthony DeSclafani, who had an amazing season with the Giants, but they gave up Robbie Ray and Mitch Haniger for him. I think it was a pretty good decision for the Mariners because Robbie Ray was not panning out. He couldn't get that spark going to win another Cy Young. So I think DeSclafani is a really good addition to their rotation, and it makes a team that was already pretty good really good.
Yeah. Help me out here. Is Seawald still on that Mariners team, or is he elsewhere?
Let me see. Can you remind me who you're talking about again?
Patrick Seawald, pitcher.
Okay, Seawald. I don't know if I don't know why I thought you were talking about some random guy that was just like a nickname, but I think he is still there. I haven't heard anything. I feel like I would have seen. He might have gone somewhere else. But he did. I think he got traded. Did he get traded?
Oh, I see.
Yeah, he's on the Diamondbacks now, so I'm assuming that he got traded.
Oh, yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, he's been on the Diamondbacks.
Oh, okay. I did not notice that. Because I remember that playoff series against Houston for the Mariners. That was probably the year before last year.
Yeah, he got traded mid-season last year.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that should be all for FA recap. Yeah, that's all the people
just
who are
one
left.
more I'd like to mention. The
Sure.
most recent, the Orioles trading for Corbin Burns. Huge trade.
Very huge.
Yeah, Corbin
You
Burns.
called it mid in the group chat.
Yeah, I called it mid because I was pissed we didn't get him. So, yeah, I really wanted him. He is a guy that could full on deal. He has so many weapons, and he is one of those guys that I think once it's all said and done, he's going to be a Verlander, Scherzer, Kershaw kind of guy that like sticks around for a while. His ERA numbers aren't as good as those guys, but I'm speaking more on the fact that he's going to be around for a while, assuming he does not get hurt.
Yeah, good for the Orioles.
Amazing for the Orioles. That Orioles team might be, I think they're serious World Series contenders, especially after the offseason they just had. So then they only gave up prospects, so the team stays relatively similar. I don't think they picked up anyone too notable in free agency, but that's the guy you want.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was probably the only other storyline this offseason.
Alrighty. Well, last but not least, the NBA. You wanted to talk about... You want to start with awards first or media controversy?
Let's talk about awards because they kind of tie together.
Okay.
The awards, they're kind of under fire right now because they're the only league. I think they're the only league that has a minimum games played requirement to win an award. And it's a little bit tough for players. Because a lot of the players that should be in serious contention for a lot of these awards are going to be disqualified by the time the season's over because of this minimum. And especially in a league where guys are getting injured at a higher rate than they ever have been. And I'm not say what you want about it being a soft league. Injuries are injuries. They're up across the board in every league. So it's just kind of tough to now kind of see that the way that this is going is that these guys are playing on these really not great teams, to be completely honest. Some of these guys are playing for MVP awards, or some of these guys are playing for Defensive Player of the Year awards. Some of these guys are playing for Most Improved awards, and they're not going to be able to get that chance to get it if they miss a few games with an injury. And I think it's tough. I think it's a little bit too strict because some of these guys that are in serious contention for MVP and DPOY are now going to be disqualified because they have to take some time to deal with their injuries. And they're injuries that aren't season-ending and don't really... they'll miss it by a few games, a handful of games. So I just think it's a little bit annoying to see that. So it's kind of changing the mentality of the game too. People are playing for awards, especially those top guys. It's just, I don't know. I just don't like it. I'm not a fan of the minimum games played. I know a lot of people disagree or are a fan of that because it kind of keeps the players that are playing throughout the season to win.
Yeah.
But curious to hear what you guys think about it.
Oh boy. You're stretching and you're breathing and you're making me nervous about what's going to happen now.
Good. You should be
LeBron to the
nervous.
Sixers.
Never in a million years. I would rather kill myself. Besides the point. Well, I understand that a lot of these players are now thrown out of contention because of, serious injuries that do happen. You also have to think about something I've always preached as somebody who was constantly injured myself in, my career as an athlete. Very short-lived, but it was a career. Mm-hmm. The best ability is availability.
I've heard that so much.
If you cannot, it's really not. If you cannot consistently be in for your team to perform, regardless of what... I'll use Embiid as an example. You want to check around the term free throw merchant, you want to check around yada, 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 whatever, who cares? He's putting up numbers for his team, and his team is regularly winning when he's in. If he's not in, and his team is still performing without him, he throws away the one, I would say, not the credibility of him winning the award, but if he's not the sole reason that team is winning, or at least a huge contributor, and there's still... But, then you've got games where Maxi's still going for 53 points and they're winning.
Against the worst defense in the league.
Doesn't matter. Guys are stepping up and still playing. If it's been proven time and time again that...
Somebody has to step up and play. I remember
But
when that Lakers team had a bunch of old guys, and somebody had to step up, and somebody had to play well.
The 37-year-old LeBron was averaging almost 30 a game, and y'all didn't want to give him credit for being available and still playing. Y'all wanted to give Anthony Davis shit for not playing games, and when he was putting up 30, he's been putting up 30 a night all season long. I think that should be more in a conversation because he's been consistently performing for the Lakers. Granted, the Lakers haven't been playing all that well lately. We were still in the same spot this season as we were last season.
Yeah.
With an arguably way better team.
Yes, definitely.
With Rui, with D'Lo, Austin Reeves is stepping into the limelight. He's really finding a spot. We're still not performing well, even when AD is consistently performing well. And I think, it really goes to show that people pick and choose the battle of, which injury-prone player really needs to, hear the argument or not. It's absurd that people are upset about a games minimum when I'll go to another league, for example. Tyreek Hill missed one game. One game. His team still put up 30 points. Everybody wrote him off of the MVP ballot. Immediately was off that MVP ballot because he missed one game.
That's the only league you can't compare that to is the NFL, because the NFL you only play 17 games, right? It's way different between 82 and 17. One game in a 17 game season is way different than a handful of games in an 82 game season. I will agree though, it does kind of, sometimes it does, the league does pick and choose, like which player are we going to like try to break the rules for, but also that kind of goes to show that the players that we're breaking the rules for, or we're trying to break the rules for, are the guys that legitimately deserve the MVP award. Because the Sixers just lost by over 20 points to the Brooklyn Nets and I don't even know what the guy's name is, drop like a 50 burger. And it's the team without Embiid is very noticeably worse. And when Embiid's in, that team is winning almost every single game. So it's also tough for some of these guys who are now having to rush through injuries to get back to potentially qualify for awards. Because sure, just let it be a situation where these guys can't quite, I'm trying to think of how to say it, but some of these guys legitimately are on the fringe of losing it, and they're going to rush their injuries just so they can be back, and then they're going to get hurt more, and that's just going to be worse for the long run. So obviously in every other league, there's this arbitrary line where if these guys miss this many games, they're written off unless they are just remarkable when they're in. And Embiid is remarkable when he's playing. But now with this, obviously changes the whole dynamic of the argument. But it's just so much harder because I think having the minimum makes it so hard for players to. It's just another mental thing that these guys have to deal with, especially when coming back from an injury. And I don't know. I just think it's tough. The awards are basically everything in basketball anyways. Every time you talk about a player, it's how many awards have they won? What's their regular season award? How many times have they won Defensive Player of the Year? How many times have they won MVP? That's what it ends up becoming. And for some of these guys, that's what they're playing for if they're not on a finals contending team.
I just think everybody's getting so bent out of shape for the NBA saying the quiet part out loud. Granted, anybody and everybody would get upset when you say the quiet part out loud, even outside of sports. That's just a life thing. But the fact that that's a unspoken rule in most sports, and the fact that the NBA has just chosen to be here you go.
Yeah, but that line is arbitrary for a reason. It's subjective to the person. Who is the league to say that? And it ultimately comes down to the vote. If the people are saying, or if the voters are saying, yeah, he missed too many games, then that's what that is. That's where that line is drawn for that player for that particular scenario. But say Embiid only plays 64 games and he puts up the stat lines that he has right now, it's just like, oh, he missed one game. He was one game short. Oh my gosh. Like, he still played remarkable. Let's give him the award, but they can't because he doesn't qualify for it and he's automatically thrown out of the conversation. It's just, it's given, even for defensive player of the year, there's some guys that are now not going to be able to compete for it because they have exceeded the minimum games, or they have the maximum games missed. They will be exceeding it by the time the season's over. I don't think really any of the guys that are in contention for it have hit that yet, but I don't know. It's just tough because I saw the list of players that are really close to the minimum games played. Embiid, Halliburton, Butler. There's a few other guys that I can't think of off the top of my head, but like 3 of the guys that fight for awards every season, or that should be fighting for awards every season, are just like, oh well, you know. But I just don't think it's the league's job to write out what's unspoken, because some rules are meant to stay unspoken. Because how would you, like, that's almost like the league putting a mercy rule on a game, on an MLB game, right? It's almost like the league saying, okay, well, if they're up by this many runs in the 9th, write them, it's over. And that's that. That's basically what that is. Especially when now the unspoken rule is, if you keep putting it on in the last few minutes of a basketball game, if you steal the ball and run it down the court and dunk and celebrate, that's seen as bad. Then why don't we just call the game early if it's a blowout, right? Like, you know, I just think it's not the league's place, it's the voters' place to decide on what is too many games missed, if that makes sense.
No, I get what you're saying, but I'm just gonna kind of wrap around just back into my original point of, like, yes, you can put, you know, crazy numbers up in the regular season and go absolutely feral, but come playoff time, I know it's a regular season award, I know, trust me, but if you're not there for your team when it really matters, because in my opinion, I'd rather win rings than MVPs. And if you're not consistently performing for your team in the playoffs because you're injured, and you're missing half of the right. If you're missing, like, dude, come on, how many times did we have Kawhi miss half a season, or Anthony Davis miss a quarter or a third of the season, or, you know, I blew out. I mean, or D-Rose. I'll even use D-Rose as an argument. How many times are these guys, like, generational talents who will either take a load management route or, you know, have horrid injuries and then just never play the same and aren't there to take their team to a more important goal in my mind? Like, obviously, I'd rather Embiid sit and get healthy and then try and contend for a ring rather than him, like, try and force himself and come back just for an MVP.
Yeah.
I think that priorities are so skewed because they want regular season awards so bad. And in my mind, that's at least from my perspective.
Yeah, I can see that, and that's what the thing I've been going back and forth on most. And that's something Embiid said. He's not worried about the games played, and that's why he's allowed himself to get as close to the minimums as he has. But as a fan, it's like, and also some of these players that are having really good seasons that get a somewhat, you know, minor injury that requires some time to take care of. Some of these other guys that an award like that would change their career, and change their legacy, especially on teams that don't have a chance to win a ring that season. It's, you know, for them, it's kind of tough. So I agree, though. I mean, what you do in the playoffs, and that's what Embiid said when he got injured. Even the first time, he's like, I don't give a shit about the MVP award. Yeah, it'd be cool to win it, but, like, I'm trying to win a ring, and beat the allegations, but it's just, yeah. But anyways, moving on to the media, and it is the same thing as, like, now, especially with injuries, some of these guys are being rushed back via the media. The media is trying to rush these guys back. And we're seeing is I'll keep using Embiid because he's kind of like the poster boy for this kind of thing, is that they got pissed, the media got pissed that he was unable to play in the Denver Nuggets game. He couldn't even jump come 15 minutes before tip-off. He couldn't even leave the ground. So why, if he can't play, then why should he have to try to play? Because he's, because the team will get fined if they don't. The media and the Nuggets owner, I have nothing but disrespect for that Nuggets owner for calling the league to investigate that, because if he watched Embiid, he would have seen Embiid was in physical pain and he couldn't jump. Why should we make a player play if they can't perform? And
you shouldn't. You honestly shouldn't. Like
you shouldn't.
If he's already accepted the fact that like I'm injured, like the media, we've known the media is going to try and instigate shit from the beginning. Like it doesn't matter the sport, it doesn't matter what the case is. The media's always going to try and start a firestorm to make things a nightmare.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why it's annoying when the media and the Nuggets owner calls for an investigation into that situation, and the league comes back and fines him $75,000. But
Yeah,
where's the outcry
unfair.
at Kuminga trying to injure Embiid? Where is the outcry? Where is the call for investigation? It's nowhere, because it's the Sixers and the media won't admit. Well, the Sixers are gonna swallow their pride and they're gonna be like whatever, but the media is too scared to go for their poster team, the Denver Nuggets, or the Golden State Warriors, and just call out one of the players, because I don't know, it's just really tough that the media, especially in the NBA, are going one way or another, and they can't get it done. They can't figure it out, and they keep calling for these players to get investigations on them because they're injured. And I'm like, okay, well, they're injured. Like, let them recover. And yeah, the Sixers probably should have kept him on the injury report, or kept him out if they thought that this was going to be a problem. But like, the injury got worse during warmups, and you re-aggravated the injury during warmups. So why should he not be allowed to be called out? Because they don't really have a questionable tag like the NFL does. The NFL really loves their term questionable, and that allows a player to go through warm-ups and see how they feel. The NBA doesn't really have that. It's either you're in or you're out. That's all you get. So if a player re-aggravates during warm-ups, they're shit out of luck. And it happens over and over again. The league will call for an investigation, or the media will call for an investigation. The league will just bite the bullet and do it, and they'll be like, "Oh, okay, we'll just fine them this amount of money," and that's that. But, anyways, I won't rant too long about that. Too much longer.
Yeah, we've gone pretty long. This might be one of our longest episodes yet.
We had a lot to cover.
We did have a lot to cover in our time and our little hiatus there. But yeah, that will do it for this episode of Fourscore Sports Podcast. Again, I'm Christian, joined by Michael, Nick, Brendan, and Spencer. This is the season 2 of Fourscore Sports Podcast, and thank you so much for listening. If you've stayed this long, and hope to see you guys next time.